Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining us for this amazing celebration. And many thanks to the City of Bellevue, King County Library System, and the Bellevue Library, and all of the staff, volunteers, and supporters who helped to make this happen. I do want to make a note that we are having some videotaping and photography going on by the staff, and if you do not want to be photographed, please let the staff know. We appreciate that. I'm Alice Ito, your MC for this evening, and I want to give a special thanks to all the Bellevue Japanese Americans who shared their stories, and to the amazing artists who have brought them to life in a wonderful new way in Emerging Radiance. This is very close to my heart because my father, Toshi Ito, was born here in Bellevue and raised not too far from where we are now. He was on a farm, as were many of the other Japanese American families, and when he was 19, he and his entire family were forced out of their home, and they didn't know what was going to happen to them. Along with 60 other Japanese American families, they were unjustly incarcerated by our own U.S. government. And while confined in camp, which the president at the time did call concentration camps, he was drafted and he served in the U.S. Army. After World War II, the families were released, but only 12 of those families were able to return here to Bellevue. Those families were the Aramaki family, Hirotaka family, Ito family, Matsuoka family, Matsuzawa family, Muramoto family, Numoto family, Suguro family, Tsushima family, Yabuki family, and the Yamaguchi family. We're glad that some of these family members are here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Emerging Radiance is a loving tribute to all the families who helped make Bellevue what it is today, and those who returned, as well as many more who had to remake their lives elsewhere. So thank you, everyone. I wanted to say that the part of the story that people don't often know is what happened after the war and after the camps. After being in the Army, my dad came back, and he was hired as the second non-white employee right here at the Bellevue Post Office. He and my mom married, and I and my sisters grew up on a bit of the old farmland. They both emphasized the importance of education, and my mom took us to the Bellevue Library regularly. I loved the library, but in those days, kids were only allowed to take out 2 books at a time, which I thought was very unfair. Now, I'm still a big reader and still a big fan of the library, which is an important community resource for everyone. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Angie Miraflor, who is Deputy Director of the King County Library System. Angie?
Thank you, Alice. And I just want to let everyone know kids can check out well more than 2 books now, so we have fixed that. Hello, everyone. My name is Angie Miraflor. I'm the Deputy Director of the King County Library System. Before we begin, KCLS joins the City of Bellevue in acknowledging that we are on the indigenous land of Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, including the Duwamish, Suquamish tribe, Muckleshoot Indian tribe, and Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. I'm so very happy to welcome all of you to the Bellevue Library and today's unveiling of an inspiring and important artwork, Emerging Radiance. Through a partnership with the City of Bellevue, the piece has been installed to pay tribute to the Bellevue farmers of Japanese origin who were incarcerated by the U.S. government during World War II. It is most appropriate to hold this event today on February 19th, the Japanese American Day of Remembrance for those forcibly incarcerated. I'd like to thank the City of Bellevue for its support for this project and to recognize City Council Member Dave Hamilton and former Bellevue Mayor and current King County Council Member Claudia Balducci, who are joining us today. KCLS is extremely proud to be hosting Emerging Radiance, which is the City of Bellevue's newest public artwork. Libraries play a critical role in preserving history and collective memory, ensuring access to information that expands public knowledge. KCLS is also committed to providing public spaces where people of all ages and backgrounds can feel a sense of community and belonging. Part of our role is to build bridges of understanding, and as you'll see, thoughtful artwork does the same thing too. Emerging Radiance challenges us to look back, no matter how painful, and to remember. It forces us to see ourselves, but also points to higher possibilities. This art is about community and telling stories to elevate our sense of the world, raising our hopes for a future characterized by human dignity and tolerance. Emerging Radiance is the creation of two local artists, Tani Ikeda and Michelle Kumata. It portrays a small farmhouse with paintings on all four sides, reflecting the Japanese American farmers who lived in Bellevue from 1920 until 1942. And this will remain at the Bellevue Library for at least the next 2 years, until about February of 2027. So be sure to tell folks of this beautiful piece so they get a chance to see it. Reflecting the value of remembrance and linked to Emerging Radiance, I'm also thrilled to share a new project, the Memory Lab, that KCLS has launched in partnership with the Mellon Foundation and StoryCorps. You may have heard of StoryCorps through NPR. The Mellon Foundation, which supports communities through arts and humanities, awarded the KCLS Foundation an $800,000 grant to gather and preserve the stories of Asian Americans and their descendants in the Bellevue area who were displaced from their homes and farms during World War II. The grant includes immigrants and refugees who now call King County home. You will have a chance this evening to check out the Memory Lab recording booth in Bellevue's Makerspace, and then we also have a second Memory Lab in our Makerspace at the Federal Way Library. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I now want to turn the microphone over to Tani Ikeda, one of the artists who worked on this wonderful art installation. Thank you.
So the first day of Remembrance was actually at the Puyallup Fairgrounds. And this is where my grandfather and my family was incarcerated. And growing up, that was just the place that you go to play. That was the fairgrounds. And I never knew that that was actually the place that my family had been imprisoned. So working on this project has been incredibly powerful and important to me. You may also know my father, Tom Ikeda, who's the founder of Densho. And from the time I was 6 years old, he has been documenting the stories of Japanese Americans who are incarcerated from our community. So these stories have lived alongside me. The archive has grown as I've grown. And this was really the first opportunity that I, as a creative person, got to engage in the story through hopefully using augmented reality to allow our community story to reach a younger audience. I want to thank the city and Lori in particular for stewarding this project and giving it a home at the library. And I also want to thank Michelle Kumata, who is the visual artist of this project. She's the beating heart of Emerging Radiance and has done this project with so much care. And as many of you may know, carrying this story for years and across generations is an art in and of itself. And there's so many details, not only in the artwork that you'll notice with the stamps that Michelle has created, but also in the way that she's cared for every single person on this project. I can remember when we were first launching at BAM, we spent the last 3 days editing all night, sleeping on the couch, and you'll actually see that film downstairs. But Michelle baked us cookies and would bring us cookies. And even today, Antoinette, who's actually still in the back coding and working on the AR, we've been working for the past 2 days straight, and Michelle brought us cookies again. And it's the little touches that let you know that you're cared for. And she's done that with every single family that you'll see featured in this mural. And it's one of those things where in order for somebody to tell their story when it's incredibly painful, it takes tremendous trust and care. And when I think today about the political environment that we're living in, I think about how the government has divided us and made us afraid. And this is something that our community knows really well. And so, all the executive orders that are coming out, all of the things that are happening at a rapid pace that are destroying lives and communities, it takes generations to rebuild that. And Michelle knows this so well. So she's taken so much care to make sure every single person feels acknowledged and loved and cared for in the process. So I hope in addition to commemorating our community's strength and resilience, tonight is really about honoring Michelle Kumata and her work as a Japanese-American sansei woman artist. I'm going to pass it over to Claudia Portici.
Thank you. I can't do this extemporaneously. Thank you so much, Tani and Michelle, for this incredible artwork. I couldn't be more delighted to be here tonight with you to dedicate the success of finding an incredibly fitting home for this important piece of art that is about the place where we all live, the place that we call home. It talks to us about our history and what happened here in the city of Bellevue and why it's important to remember it, and more important than ever today. Just a snapshot of history. On February 18th, 1942, about 60 Japanese American families lived and worked in the Bellevue area. They cultivated strawberries on their farms and other produce. They brought people from around the region to their annual festival. Their kids made up a large portion of Bellevue classrooms. If you see pictures of school classes at the time, they are largely mixed. I'm sorry. All right. It's in the back. How's that? Ooh. Thank you. Thank you for waving at me. I appreciate you. They organized youth clubs and had built the Kokeido Clubhouse in 1930, which gave a place to practice Buddhism without having to trek to Seattle before there was a bridge with which to do so. And they faced racism from their neighbors, were not allowed to own land in Washington state, and watched as Washington's Anti-Japanese League was founded right here in Bellevue by a fellow Bellevue resident. On February 19th, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, and the discrimination that had always existed turned into forced removal and incarceration based on fear and discrimination and hatred. These families lost much of their property and they lost their freedom because they were Japanese Americans. Many of them, most, were citizens. And after incarceration ended, unlike some other parts of our region, which welcomed back the families who were coming back from incarceration, families in Bellevue were greeted with further attempts to exclude them. They returned to find their homes vandalized, garbage and dead animals in the walls, and possessions stolen, signs in the windows saying, "Don't come here." It's a shameful moment in our history, and I think it's important that we remember that on the Day of Remembrance, because now we are faced with the same fear and the same exclusionary impulses and the same activities coming from our government and from our federal government. And now is the time that we need to really stand up and say, no, we don't stand for this. We don't, no more means now, never again means now is now, right? And so I'm very proud to have been a small part of helping to tell this story in Bellevue. I will share that I was a leader in this town. I was on the city council and I was an adult, full grown, with my degrees and everything before I learned the full history of what happened here. We don't teach it enough, and we need to. We need to continue to teach the history and learn the history and talk about it. And artworks, installations, like Emerging Radiance are a wonderful way to do that, to transmit this history to the next generation and make sure we don't forget. I'm also very proud, if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of artwork and interpretive historical signage on the Northeast 8th Street Bridge. Take a walk over there if you get a chance. It's quite lovely, and it tells even more of the story of this time period in our history, and it expands out, not just from the Japanese American experience, but also the experience of the original people, the Native Americans, some of the folks who, are African American neighbors, and Mexicans and other folks who came in, how they all contributed to making Bellevue this amazing place that it is today. So I'm just delighted that, thank you to everyone. Thank you to the City of Bellevue, to the library system, to the artists, and to the community members, because your taxes help to pay for this to have a home so that we can continue to learn about this amazing history in such a unique and wonderful way. And I could be more proud to be here celebrating it with you tonight. Thank you so much. The county council went to the trouble of making a proclamation proclaiming today Japanese American Remembrance Day. I'm not going to read it, it's very long and very boring, but we have it and we will present it because we officially now recognize this day, because that's part of maintaining the history and maintaining our attention on it. Thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce our City Council Member Dave Hamilton.
Yes. Thank you. Councilmember Claudia Valvin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Hamilton. I'm on the Bellevue City Council. Here on behalf of the City Council and our city manager, I thought that I would start off by just mentioning some of the city staff that are here, but there are way too many to mention. So if you are on the staff at the City of Bellevue, just raise your hand so we can all get a look at you. Michael, thank you. All right, awesome. Great. We really have a great crowd here tonight, so welcome everyone. It's an honor to be here with you on the Day of Remembrance as we unveil Emerging Radiance, an art installation designed to help us remember and acknowledge our past. Tonight, we reflect on an essential chapter in Bellevue's history, one of resilience and sacrifice that highlights the enduring spirit of our community. This piece, created by Michelle Kumata and Tani, Ikeda, honors the Japanese American farmers who built their lives here in Bellevue. Families who cleared land, cultivated crops, and contributed to the foundation of our city, only to find themselves unjustly uprooted, forcibly removed from their homes, and incarcerated during World War II. Their story is one of perseverance in the face of profound injustice, and tonight we ensure that it is seen, heard, and never forgotten. Bellevue is a city that values diversity, and not just as an ideal, but as a lived experience. We are committed to being a place where people of all backgrounds, ages, and cultures feel a true sense of belonging. Emerging Radiance is a testament to that commitment, reminding us that acknowledging our past strengthens our future. In today's ongoing national turmoil, let us be clear. Bellevue is a community where everyone is welcome, and we want to provide a community where you feel safe to live, work, and build a future. We will always stand by the belief that everyone, no matter where they come from, deserves dignity, opportunity, and a place to call home. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the artists, Michelle Kumata and Tani Ikeda, for bringing these stories to life, and to the King County Library System for their partnership in sharing this important history with our community. Through this work, we reaffirm that Bellevue's strength comes from its people, past, present, and future. I encourage you to engage with this powerful installation, experience the voices and stories of those who shaped our history, and continue the conversation on how we build more just and inclusive community together. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful remarks and everyone participating and joining in this program. Now we're going to hear from the artists themselves, and from Michelle, we'll hear some of her vision for the piece. And we will also have a walk around so that people can see the other sides of the installation.
I want to especially thank Tani and Alice. Thank you, Tani, for collaborating with me on this long, challenging, and incredible journey, and for your strong vision and direction. And thank you, Alice, for emceeing tonight and serving as advisor and connection to the Bellevue Nikkei community. You both inspire and empower me. Thank you. And thank you all for being here, making your way through rush hour traffic to join our celebration. We're especially honored to have folks from the Bellevue Nikkei community here. You'll recognize them because they have a gold name tag, so they're our special guests tonight. Thank you to Lori and Janelle at the City of Bellevue for shepherding this project for acquiring emerging Radiance. And thank you to KCLS and the Bellevue Library for making the farmhouse accessible to all. I was doing some research last week, and I had talked to Ed Sugaro, who is one of the elders of the Bellevue community, and he mentioned that there was a historic map of the farms here before the war. And I looked at the map, and there was, under the name Eizo Masuyama, there was a farm at 110th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 12th Street. So it's even more meaningful that the farmhouse is currently sited on former Japanese American farmland. I also wanted to thank Alice and the speakers and the staff and volunteers who've helped make this program happen, and for the city, Lori, to organize all that amazing food. And then also thank you to family and friends. Really nice to see familiar faces in the audience. So I'm going to share a little bit about my background and the development of emerging Radiance. I was born and raised in Seattle. My parents were both born in Minidoka, an American concentration camp in Idaho during World War II. And when I was 10 years old, I remember the shock of a drunk woman calling my grandmother, mother, and myself Jap. We were all stunned. We didn't say anything, and we never talked about it. I grew up in a community and a culture that did not encourage talking back, questioning authority, rebellion, risk-taking, or going against the grain. So somehow I became an artist. But I think I'm doing that visually instead of verbally. But much of that is a result of generational trauma from the incarceration experience. My community was targeted and unjustly incarcerated during World War II, and our people have silently carried this burden, knowingly or not, for generations. I was an only child growing up. I was quiet and shy. I wasn't good with words, but I found I could express myself through art. And in college, I studied graphic design and illustration. I later worked at the Seattle Times for over a decade as a designer and illustrator. And then I worked at the Wing Luke Museum at the Asian Pacific American Experience for 12 years, developing community-based exhibitions. At the newspaper and museum, I learned the importance of diverse representation and the power and influence that artists have. I'm getting older. I'm still shy, and speaking in front of a crowd is really torture for me. Thank you for your patience. Art is my language, my way to communicate. Sometimes I have challenges finding the right words, but I can convey a message or story effectively through my art. I'll share a little bit about how the farmhouse came to be. I was commissioned to paint an office mural for a new Meta office building in the Spring District near downtown Bellevue. I worked with Lily Barnett, Tamar Ben-Zikri, and Dom Nieri of the Meta Open Arts program. I wanted to create an artwork to help Meta workers understand the hidden history of the land where they worked. I researched photos and oral histories, and I purchased a used copy of Strawberry Days by Dave Mewert. This is the most comprehensive research on the Nikkei farmer's story as part of Bellevue history. I talked with descendants of farmers, a lot of people who are here, and then I envisioned a mural with larger-than-life portraits representing real people of different generations. I used yellows and gold to make the skin glow and enhance their presence. I incorporated unique stamp patterns for each portrait to highlight their individual stories. And Tani joined in the project to add a new dynamic dimension to the painted mural. She incorporated oral history recordings from the Densho archives. Densho is a Japanese word meaning to pass stories to the next generation. And as Tani had mentioned, her father was one of the founders of Densho, which started with the goal of documenting and sharing oral histories of Japanese American incarceration survivors. Utilizing the Densho archives, Tani included actual voices of Bellevue Nikkei farmers who lived this experience. And our own Alice Ito worked at Densho. She interviewed many local elders, including the stories featured in Emerging Radiance. And these were all collected around 1996. So, I don't know, it's kind of amazing that many years ago, these stories are connecting with the present day. I also want to acknowledge Kimitomo Muramoto's son, Kim Jr., and Kim is here some, I think, oh, there he is. He viewed the office mural with his father, and then he pushed to make Emerging Radiance more accessible to the public. And then Tamar Benzagri, who was the curator and producer at Meta Open Arts, advocated for Meta to support the production of a public-facing work, which took the form of a farmhouse. Kimitomo, Kim's father, did get to see the farmhouse at Bellevue Arts Museum in 2022. Sadly, Kimitomo, also known as Kim, was the last living person featured in Emerging Radiance. Kim passed away last year at age 101. Through the magic of augmented reality, our ancestors can continue to live on and share the stories and legacy. This started as one person, one artist working on a wall mural and grew to involve over 60 people, community members, other artists, technicians, a whole group of people working together to amplify these stories of ordinary, extraordinary people. Emerging Radiance was created to amplify a very specific community story. It's also meant to engage visitors of all backgrounds, spark curiosity and conversation, and inspire hope. More than 80 years after the Japanese American incarceration, immigrant and migrant communities are now being targeted, rounded up, incarcerated, and deported. Families are being separated. We all must stand up and speak out against injustice to protect the rights of all our communities. We can't repeat history. Let light shine on this hidden history, and let light continue to shine on us all. Thank you.